everyone. It's Kellene Vaile stepping in for Mariah Gates today. She is off doing a double header of conferences. We've got quite the InsureTech webinar for you today. Our featured expert is a powerhouse, physically and mentally, who embodies exactly what accelerated automation is all about: transformation, empowerment, and impact. Tiffani Joseph brings more than 20 years of experience in global marketing, product development, and operations, and over 15 years in the insurance industry. She and her husband successfully launched and grew two independent agencies in South Florida, where she became a master of streamlining systems, building high-performing teams, and driving scalable growth. But here's what makes her story truly remarkable. Tiffani didn't just use our services here at Accelerated Automation. She believed in them so deeply that she joined the team. So today she plays a key leadership role as a project manager and a driving force behind our new Fractional COO program. She's helping agency owners just like you go from overwhelmed to optimized, not just through tech, but real operational strategy. She's a licensed pro in property and casualty, life and health, and real estate. And when she's not transforming agencies, she's crushing Spartan races, bodybuilding competitions, and half marathons. Yeah, just a little bit, just part of her day. Tiffani brings energy, I would say insight, and hands-on experience to everything she does. We love having her here, and we love having her here with us today. Thank you so much, Tiffani.
Thank you so much, Kellene. Thank you for having me.
But of course. So, okay, let's ask the most basic question. What first brought you into the insurance industry?
Actually, it's a funny story. The first thing that brought me into the insurance industry was someone invited me to a Primerica event to learn more about getting in through Primerica. And so at the time, my husband at the time was my boyfriend. I was like, oh, someone invited me to this. Let's go check it out. And then when we were in the meeting, he was like, we don't need to go through Primerica. He was like, we can just do this on our own. So we got our life and health license, and just organically he had a connection with someone, and we started with Medicare. So originally we started with Medicare. Someone that we connected with already had contracts with AvMed for this particular season, and so they were giving us leads. So we were doing, for the Medicare season, we were doing that. And then after, my husband he liked it, and he said, okay, now I'm going to go get my PNC license. And so he did that. And then I just continued to support him through that, got my license with him as we continue to grow. And then, from there, that's kind of how we fully ventured into insurance.
So tell us about launching your agencies in South Florida. What was
Yes.
that like?
So it's hard because, again, neither of us were new to the industry. So when my husband got his PNC license as an independent agent, he just started to network with other independent agents in the South Florida market. And he started actually within a mortgage broker's office. So he started there. And then as he built up his business, he got an office space inside of an office building. So it was a small office. It could only fit like two people. And so again, just continued to build up slowly that business. And then, so I supported him through that. I've always been working in corporate and doing product development, building out solutions, but I've always supported my husband from the operations side. Because again, he's a salesperson, he knows how to do it, but just helping him understand how to like streamline and how to really look at it from a different perspective. So with that first office, we just continued to build it up. And then as that office built up, we moved into a bigger office in South Florida. And then at some point he was like, let's open up another one. Well, in order had to make sure that I was licensed so that we can do that. So decided that I had gotten my PNC him. So then we
Whoops, she cut out there.
Did you catch me this time?
Nope, try again. We've got a bit of a connection problem here.
Oh, that's not fun.
Nope.
Of course, that would happen when we're on this webinar and everything's been working properly.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's Murphy's Law, right? Let me
Being
ask you this.
fine and everything.
You can hear me fine, correct? Okay.
Yes, I can.
All right, let's try this question. I want to know, what was the tipping point but for you to bring on accelerated automation?
That we needed some automation. Can you still hear me, Kellene?
I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Thing is, back in 2023, my husband was facing some challenges. Say like you need to use something more than your AMS system to reach out to your customers. The AMS system he was using was not, in my opinion, delivering on solutions to be able to understand what he's doing within CRM systems, our customer relationship management systems. So I just that will allow you to use a CRM because the AMS systems were really.
Oh dear. We lost her again, folks. I'm so sorry. If you are on this, make a note in the chat whether or not you can hear her fine. Maybe it's just me, but she's going in and out for me as well. If you're in the chat.
So, Kellene, here's what I'm going to do because I apologize. This has been working fine up until this point. Let me just turn my camera off and grab one thing. I'll turn.
Okay. Sorry, folks. Technology is great until it isn't. This is called impromptu. And no, I'm not going to sing background music while we're waiting. Just be patient with us for another minute or so, folks.
Okay, Kellene, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, let's hope this works. Like I said, it's been working all week. And then, of course, when it's time for this, it goes off. So the question you were asking me is, how did I come across accelerated automation? Is that the correct question?
What was the tipping point that made you decide it was time for accelerated automation?
Okay. So the tipping point was that, again, like I said, I really believe that the AMS system was not delivering on the solutions that he needed to continue to grow in his agency. I knew about CRM systems. And so I just started to look at, are there any CRM systems that are specific to the insurance agency? I had known about CRM systems for the real estate industry, or even just CRM systems that you can use, for a variety of types of businesses across the board. But I really wanted to hone in on something that was specific to the insurance industry, primarily because you want that communication, that communication, that automation that goes out to the client. You want it to really be tailored to your industry. So that's very important when you're looking for a CRM system. And as an agency owner, you don't want to spend time in developing that copy specific to that industry, right? So as I was doing research, I came across Agency Zoom. So I had a call with Agency Zoom. I really liked their solution for the insurance industry. But again, I didn't want to spend hours in building out the automation, the workflows, the pipelines to be able to develop that. And so I just continued to look at different Facebook groups just to understand within the insurance industry what automations, what technologies are out there. I came across insurance automation, and then I saw that there were posts in there about accelerated automation. So I scheduled a meeting, which a lot of people do with you, and I
Mhm.
had a demo. I was super impressed with how quickly we could be up and running with automation for our agency. I was impressed that it was tailored to the industry. So I didn't have to worry about what are those touch points that we need to constantly reach out to when a lead comes in, because it was already built in. So it was super easy to do. And it was very cost effective, right? It was something that we could really fit within our budget, especially for small agencies, or agencies who are not really attuned to technology. They, sometimes get sticker shock when they hear the cost of different technologies, but it was reasonably priced. So it really just made like a no-brainer to sign up for the service, because it will help us to quickly start to know what business we have coming in, be able to constantly target those people and have that constant communication.
Yeah, that's something that I love about what accelerated automation does is their pricing. I mean, even if you got the biggest package that we had, you would actually have to convince someone, if you were to do it on your own, we put over 1,100 hours into it. So you would have to convince someone to work for less than minimum wage, who also just so happens to be an expert on the insurance industry, who also just so happens to be an expert in copywriting and also an expert in marketing for less than
Yeah.
minimum wage. So we're really able to deliver a value. And I really am proud of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, that blew me away when I went back to my husband and like, hey, I found this solution. Yes, we can sign up for agency Zoom, but I was like, if we have to take the time in building this out ourselves, like it's going to take forever. So, I would always frown away from that. There are a lot of CRM systems that you can do a lot of customization, but as a business owner, like, why invest your time and resources when that's not your specialty, right? So leave
Yeah.
it to the experts. If it's reasonably priced, leave it, because it's going to save you a ton of time. So I mean, the pipelines were built out quickly, and then we started training. So I was able to get my staff onboarded, and so it's been a wonderful benefit to the agency.
Okay, so now this leads me to my next question. What was it that made you say, I want to be a part of this team?
Yes. So I've always, again, from my previous history within corporate, it's been about finding solutions for consumers, whether it's been from most of my experience has been in product, right? Developing products where I can deliver a benefit to a consumer. And then from the insurance side, it was like, how can I just have a passion for like helping agencies improve on their processes. So even within my husband's network of other agency owners, like they're always asking me questions because they're still doing things like a lot of traditional agents do. And so when my husband is like, yeah, my wife did this and that for me, they're like, really? So I've always just had a passion. I have a passion for the process of the business and helping that business become more efficient versus the selling day to day to customers. I'm definitely not a salesperson. So I get my energy off of like helping them improve their processes. So when accelerated automation actually started to talk about the COO program, I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is definitely, I saw like agencies have a need for this, because agency owners either, that's again, they're salespeople, so they don't even know about having proper efficiencies within their company. They don't know about technology. And so over the course of accelerated automation, I had actually gotten myself more immersed into Zapier, into other technology. So I started to be able to implement a lot of things on my own. So when I saw that Mariah was doing it, at first it was like, well, maybe I could convince my husband to want to take on that service. And it wasn't something that he could fit into his budget right now. But as I just continued to learn more about it, I was like, you know what? I want to kind of continue to expand in this space. And I've helped him, gotten him to where he can, be most efficient right now. But I was like, I really have a passion for helping agencies improve. Let me see if there's an opportunity for me to continue to expand that and be able to support accelerated automation in this new service that they were offering.
Oh, that's wonderful. And we are happy to have you. You've just really done an amazing job. So, what was your experience like on the client side of accelerated automation, the actual build out? Tell me what that was like for you.
So the actual build out was fairly fast. And again, this was back at the end of 2023. So, accelerated automation has grown over the past few years. So I guess you could say I was still a part of, the maybe we could call them early adopters, because I was a part of the group that you would in the Facebook group, you would once you signed up in the Facebook group is kind of how you would do all of your communication and things of that nature. So that's kind of the early stages of that. So the build happened really quick. There was communication about, hey, we're starting, and then we're finished. And then it was time for me to schedule my training. Lily was my trainer at that time, and she was awesome. She was
Yeah,
able
she's
to,
amazing.
she is, yeah, walk my team through, answer their questions. And again, she's able to adapt to different learning styles and everyone's different level of expertise with the CRM system as well as with technology. So she really took her time, probably a lot more patient than I was with some of the staff members. But yeah, took her time in being able to train everyone on how to use the entire system.
So, how did that experience inform your current role as a project manager with the Fractional COO program?
So that influenced me again is just being able to work with Lily and see how she was able to train the agents effectively. I actually built a nice relationship with Lily when I would call into the support calls and ask questions about it. So again, when I saw the evolution of where accelerated automation was going, right? It was all at first the done for you programs, right? So it was like, okay, this is great. You get a baseline of how to use agency Zoom. You get a baseline to follow for your agency, for your sales pipeline, your service pipeline. So you kind of get a baseline when you go with the done for you program. But really, where the benefit lies is within the COO program, because now you can have your agency Zoom and other automations truly tailored to make your agency become more successful, because every agency operates differently. Every agency has different staff members, some have VAs, some don't have VAs. So being able to have it tailored to your agency really allows that ability for those agents to truly accelerate, because now you can build in those services specifically for them.
So, what surprised you most working behind the scenes here?
Working behind the scenes, I would say what most surprised me is the different, all the different level of technologies that's available, right? Like you think you know about certain technologies, but you really don't. So just being exposed to the different technologies, and also just to the different ways. There's a set way that we train the agents to operate, and it's based off of best practices. And I would say is for any agents that are listening, follow those best practices, right? Those are best practices that have been tested from the experience of working with over 700 agencies that accelerated automation has worked with. They know like these processes have worked. So sometimes in training, agents may sit through the training and then not fully execute what they were trained on. It's super important to do that. So I've seen that, because even as someone on the client side, we didn't necessarily follow certain processes. And it was like, oh, I see now why it was important to follow it in the way that it was trained.
Yeah, it's so helpful knowing that, Mariah having that backbone, that experience. And up until recently, nobody was brought on that didn't have a couple years experience in the insurance industry. So everybody had that expertise, and that really, that mind meld really helps to make sure that we're anticipating everything that can happen, everything that's needed to make an agency efficient.
Yes.
So, from your perspective, what are the most common challenges that agency owners face with automations and operations?
Okay, so with operations in general, it's staffing. That is like, I think, the biggest issue or biggest challenge that insurance agency owners have. And that was also one of the driving factors in looking at, a CRM system, because it's like when you're dependent upon your staff to, constantly call leads or follow up with customers, and if you're doing it in the traditional way of a notebook at their each person's desk, you as the agency owner don't have a clear view of truly what is going on in your agency. And you're dependent on asking that staff member, hey, what are you working on this week? Right.
Mm,
So and when you're down on staff, you don't know what happened because you don't have the staff member there anymore. So staffing is probably the biggest issue. And then the second is established processes and procedures. Those are the second thing that I think is there, because every agency does things different. And depending on the staff that they have, each staff member may have a different process.
yeah.
And depending on the experience level of that staff member, I see a lot if there's an agency that has a staff member that's been with them for years, they've just been letting that staff member do it their way because the staff member's been with them, the staff member knows how to do it. But if that staff member unfortunately walked away, the owner has no idea either what the staff member was doing or even how to do it. So documenting very clearly what the process is to be able to perform different functions. So I would say that's probably the two: staffing and documenting process and procedures. And then from a technology standpoint, it's the adoption of technology. It can be a challenge, right? And in this industry, you have individuals that have been in the insurance industry for over 30 years, right? So they started out in this industry where technology was non-existent. So getting agency owners to now adapt to technology. And now we're at the point of AI, right? So
Right.
where AI can go and make calls for you, where AI can be used to even update notes within your systems, or even do back end processes. So it's just continuing to evolve. And so there is hesitation in adopting technology.
Yeah. How would you say, from your perspective, that accelerated automation's approach stands out from others in the industry?
So I think accelerated automation's approach stands out is because the way that the entire process, if we're talking like the done for you program is designed, because that's how most people will initially start out. It's super simple, right? Like your build out happens, it's a simple build out, and then their training really allows you to understand how to use the process. So for anyone who is hesitant about adopting technology, a lot of times it's because you're not trained properly on how the technology works, right? Because a lot of times today with technology, you really can't reach a person, right? You're either having to chat through something or just purely, kind of figure it out on your own, right? You go to YouTube, but their training program is really top notch, because you have some videos to watch in the beginning to just give you a baseline of how to get yourself set up. But then you have that one-on-one training that is going to walk you through and be able to get those questions answered to the varying levels of experience that the agency owner and their staff members have.
Yeah, I find that that's so valuable. There's 10 hours of training that goes into this transition. And the agent will start with his staff with the agency Zoom essentials training. And that's 3 to 4 hours of self-paced training that's done via video. Everyone's required to do that before they get on the live expert training calls. because you want to make sure that you're not wasting some of that live time with fundamentals that could have already been covered in the essentials
Mhm.
training. And so that gives even greater value to those live training calls. And they are customized to an extent to each agency. So, for example, we had an agency that liked to send gift cards to their clients when it was their birthday. And so when Lily heard about that, she decided to help them set up a way that the restaurant could be notified every time it was somebody's birthday, so that the
Oh,
restaurant would automatically send out the gift cards at the same time that the agent was sending out the emails saying happy birthday, which I thought was pretty cool.
very cool. That is very cool.
Yeah. So
But
can you
that's like you said.
go ahead?
No, I was just saying is that's like you said, the benefit of the training, because then that agency can come in with some of those situations and be able to understand how it can fit within what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So share an example with us of where you've seen a dramatic before and after in an agency's operations.
Oh, wow. So I've seen a lot since I've been here in, working within the COO program, because we're still in those early stages with our agencies. But I mean, one simple thing is helping agencies have a website. So a lot of our agencies, either they don't have websites or they have very outdated websites.
Mhm.
So what happens is they're solely right now dependent on a lead picking up the phone and calling into their agency. And for most, how have that they've captured that in the past is probably a handwritten quote form that their staff member would complete. Now, of course, all of the people within the COO program are using Agency Zoom, but still they'll just go in and add a lead within Agency Zoom. So what just implementing the basics of a more updated website that allows a lead to go on their website and submit a quote. We even have created the capabilities for internal staff to have an internal intake form so that they can capture those tailored questions that they're looking for specific to their agency. So the forms are tailored to them. And then you submit the form. The form is zapped into Agency Zoom in that very first lead stage. And then those proper tags and that proper communication is going out to that lead immediately. So even if there are follow-ups that you need as an agency owner, you might require declaration pages or you might require some additional information, the automations that we built in are automatically going to speak to that. So overall, just with that simple fix, it has, driven more efficiency for an agency, reduced time. Because let's say you're not open during, and someone wants to submit a quote. Now they can go on your website and be able to submit a quote to you when you're not working.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is the speed in which you can communicate with a new lead. The research I was reading says that if you can communicate with them within 5 minutes, you have a
Mhm.
21 times more likelihood of converting that lead.
Yeah, I don't know the statistics, but that would assume that is about right because it allows you to completely. So as soon as that lead is submitted on a website, they're getting some type of communication from you. And then you as the staff member are also being notified. So in our automations, there's a call task, right? So it's saying new lead came in, call that lead. And we can even implement even improved notifications, like if internally an agency uses a chat system like Microsoft Teams or Google Meet or Ring, we can send communication there to say, hey, new lead came in, give them a call. So there's so many ways now with automation that your agency owners and staff can be notified quickly that a lead has come into them so that they can jump on that.
So let's tell them what exactly a fractional COO does for an insurance agency. Let's share that with them.
Yeah. So within the fractional COO program, we are a part-time fractional COO, so a chief operating officer for the agencies that we work with. So we allocate a certain number of hours per month that we dedicate to these agencies. And we are really there to help them with their operations. So that is entailing of looking at their current systems, whether it's for their sales process, their servicing process, any process within the company, within their agency that we have discussed and aligned on that, hey, there's some areas of opportunity to improve on. Those are the areas that we're going to focus on. So what we typically do with an agency is we're going to first have a discovery call to understand their priorities, understand their agency, understand their growth, what are their growth goals, and then understand what are their current biggest challenges. So we try to focus on the what is the main focus of that agency, and each agency is going to be different. Like we have one agency who's in the middle of rewriting all of his home renewals. So for him, it's servicing right now, where he needs to improve on that servicing process. And so within every single process, we're going to look at how we can improve. And overall, we're trying to look at how we can improve the number of steps that the staff member has to take, the number of touch points that the staff member has to take. And so really wherever we can build in automation, it's there, but then also documenting the process. So we want to future proof every process so that if a staff member who's been with an agency, call it 15 plus years, were to leave and you now had to bring in a new licensed CSR or producer, you can quickly have them learn how to do whatever process that we've implemented, because we've documented the process and it's there from a step-by-step standpoint.
Yeah, that sums it up beautifully. So why do you think that this was the next logical evolution for accelerated automation?
Oh, to me, this was the next logical, because even when we started with the Done For You program, like the Done For You program is a nice baseline, right? Especially if you're new to CRM systems. If you've been using an AMS system solely and now you're like, oh, I've been hearing about customer relationship management systems. Let me explore this. Okay, let me build this out. It's going to give you a baseline of how to interact with leads, how to be able to know what you're closing, how to service your current book of business, but it's not going to be tailored to helping your agency achieve the growth goals that you've established. So by looking more into the COO program, you're getting that dedicated person, because most agencies don't have someone who knows about technology or that they can even pay full time to help them improve from their processes, right? So by looking at our program, it's truly going to give you that. It's going to help save you time, right? Because we've been working with other agencies. Now when I'm talking to some of my other agents and we're looking at a certain process, I'm like, oh, did you know about this? Because I've already learned or implemented with another agent. So now I can quickly pass along those insights to really help my other agent kind of get up and get going on their process faster.
So how would you say that the clients are responding to this next level of partnership?
I would say they're loving it because it's taking time off their plate, right?
Yeah.
So they're not having to worry. And it's also giving them a different viewpoint. So, like, I met with an agent yesterday and we were going through their sales process, and they kind of had in their vision of, okay, we're going to do it one way, and we followed it, but then I brought in some additional things that we can do to improve on their process, and they're like, great, especially with future proofing the process, because right now a lot of agents think about, when we're working on a process, they're just thinking about it with how they currently do it with their current staff. And I'm like, let's take your current staff out of it and let's document. If you need a script, if you want your team to follow a specific script when they call a lead or when they call an existing customer, let's document it now, because even though your current staff knows what to say, if you needed to bring on someone new, you want to have it documented so that new person clearly understands, okay,
Mhm.
this is the script I follow. These are the questions that I ask. So
Right.
I think just that simplicity and just having those extra hands within your agency to help you improve on your processes has really relieved a lot of taken some stress off of agency owners because they're still challenged with the staff, they're challenged with the sales. And then when we have captive agents, they're having other challenges just as
Mhm.
being a captive agent, right? So as we're able to implement these other little things, it's just taking that little bit of less stress off of them.
Yeah, the taking time off of their plate, that's huge because, most agency owners are working exhausting hours on a weekly basis. But, like I tell my agents that I talk to, burnout is not a business plan. And so automation is there to help you reclaim time so that you can do what you're best at and the whole reason why you got involved in this business in the first place. So,
Mhm,
what kind of tasks or outcomes? Let's just dig a little bit deeper in what you were
mhm.
saying. What do you think the agency owners can expect when they work with a fractional COO?
So they can expect to improve their internal processes, external processes, um, very quickly within a year, right? So we try to bring on our agents with for a year-long program, and they are able to improve those processes within that year to truly set their agency up for success.
Mhm.
So that's the main objective is how can they and take less as we've been saying, right, time off their plate. So they can really expect to see an improvement in having a clear documented process that now they can have any staff member, they can even reference and follow what their processes are for different things. And then be able to now have a clear process on leads, right? How do we want to handle our leads so that they can increase their close rates and be able to see um, where they're falling short? Because we also work with them on reporting. So being able to look at reports to see, hey, what's going on? Why are we down? Where can we see improvements within our agency across the different projects that we work on?
Yeah. How would you say that the training component sets agencies up for long-term success?
Oh, the training component is awesome because they are getting one-on-one training. So whenever we're working on a specific process to improve, we're doing one-on-one training. We're creating standard operating procedures. So they have documentation, they have videos that they can always reference. And then they also have one-on-one training where we're actually going through the actual new process with their staff members.
Now, here's a concern that I can anticipate from agency owners. How do we ensure that agency owners stay empowered instead of feeling dependent on our outside help?
Staying empowered. Well, see, I look at it as they would be more empowered, right? Because now there are processes in place and it's actually empowering them to think about their agency and as a business and truly look at how they can set a strategy for their business. So I don't look at it as they would be dependent and just wait for us to do. I think now it really opens up them to think about things for their business to continue to deliver on their goals. And I've actually seen that even as I'm working on certain projects with my agents, they'll start to say, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about X, Y, and Z now." And I'm like, "Great, this is because I was actually going to bring this up to you." So we're now having more of those conversations that maybe initially it was just, at a kind of a level one, but now we're like, oh, actually, how do we take it to level three? And how quickly can we transition to that? So it's giving them more confidence in learning about automations and how they can drive more efficiencies.
Why don't you share with the listeners, the viewers, about what's the first 90 days look like in the fractional COO program?
So the first 90 days is going to consist of us getting to know you, right? So we need to know about your agency, your challenges, your goals as an agency owner, so that we can have a true understanding of where you are today, like where you are today, because every agency is completely different where their starting point is. So from there, we're really going to then delve into establishing an intranet. So an intranet site is super important because this is a portal that is used within the agency to house all of your training materials, documents about your carriers. So it really becomes a one-stop shop for your staff to know where to go to for all of the information containing to your agency. So we look to get that established within those first 90 days, because as we develop processes, we're going to need to house those materials there. And we want to start to train your staff on going to your intranet to seek that information. So that is step one. And then from those 90 days, as we're looking at where you are today and what are your key priorities, what is the one thing that is holding you up as an agency owner, right? What's that one thing that you need to complete quickly to either reduce your time that you're spending on or to drive sales? And that will be the very first project that we look at kicking off. So that's the one that's, keeping you up at night, is that very first project that we would look at kicking off within those 90 days. So establishing an intranet site for you, and then kicking off that first project that is your number one priority so that we can get you up and running.
Wonderful. So for an agency owner listening today or watching who may feel overwhelmed with tech and operations, what would you say to them?
Ah, Take it one step at a time. So I would say take it one step at a time, and to on don't jump into something because it looks shiny, because it's something new, and you're stressed about a certain process and this looks like it's going to deliver on solving that solution. Because tech is great, but if you don't have processes in place, you're still going to be in the same situation that you have. So
Yeah.
you can evaluate the technology, right? And if you see that the technology may be a right fit for you, then your first step before even purchasing that technology is what is my process? And how is that technology going to fit into my process? And if you don't have a process, then take the first step in establishing the process so that you can know where that technology is going to fit in and how you would use it.
Okay, let me ask you this one. What is one mistake that you think agency owners make that you wish you could prevent?
Oh, what is one mistake? I mean, this is across the board. I'm going to go back to what I believe is their biggest challenge, which is with their staff members, right?
Hmm.
And I think, so if we just focus on, hey, that's the biggest challenge I think they have. So I think the biggest mistake that they do is not establishing a clear process and procedure for their staff members to follow. So because everyone does things differently, there is not a one way that they, as the owner of the agency, has said, this is how we're going to do it. Because then you can monitor the performance, who is your weakest link, who is following your processes. And it can be down to how to take in a quote. That's a basic process, right?
Yeah.
If someone calls in, I would say agency owners start there. Start with, when someone calls into your agency, what process do you want your staff to take to intake that lead when they call in? Because everyone's going to do it differently. But at the end of the day, you as the owner want to understand what leads you have coming in and how are we closing on those leads.
Okay, I want to save some time for just a few rapid fire questions, but I want to ask this
Okay.
question first before we get there. What would you say is the biggest opportunity right now for agencies that want to grow and scale?
The biggest opportunity for them to grow and scale is going to be around the implementing of processes and technology.
Mhm.
So, right, that's been our basis because it goes back to grow and scale, you need a process, right? You need to document your procedure, and then you need that technology to accelerate you, right? So it could be even going back into the leads, right? You have outlined what your process is, but you may not have the staff to continuously make that outbound connection with those leads because you may be limited. Okay, but if you've documented what that process is going to be, you've identified where you're short at, now you can identify what technology can fit in to support you. And maybe for you, it's an AI that can make some outbound calls for you because with Agency Zoom, you still get your texting and your email. But if you're limited in staff and making the outbound call, then that might be something you have to look at because you're short staffed.
Yeah. Okay, so rapid fire time. Don't worry, it's only 4. Okay, so I'm not going to pick
Oh,
on you too
okay.
bad. Okay.
Okay.
So just, answer whatever comes to mind first. What's
Oh,
your favorite automation tool inside Agency Zoom?
my favorite automation tool inside of Agency Zoom. So I just want to make sure because that question can be vague. What is integrated into Agency Zoom?
Yes.
Zapier.
Okay.
That to
Interesting.
me was that to me was a winning because there's a lot of technology out there, even the AMS systems that have implemented different CRM systems, and AMS systems are trying to do more advancement within technology, but they're closed. So you have to be a part of everything within those. But when you are with something like Agency Zoom and it allows you to use Zapier, it allows you to have more integrations. So even though Zapier is a separate subscription, it's going to open up more opportunities for you as an agency to be able to do different things to accelerate your business.
Okay. First thing that comes to your mind, Slack, ClickUp, or company intranet?
Company intranet.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. All right. How about one book or podcast that every agency owner should check out?
Oh, that's so funny. So within because I listen to a ton of podcasts, but within the insurance industry, one podcast that I listen to is called The Scratch Agency. It's these two guys that just talk, they're really tailored to scratch agencies, but they're independent agents. And so they're very like tech forward or just very forward thinking. And so I like that podcast.
Good. And last one, what do you love most about being part of the accelerated automation team?
The people. Yeah, I think that we have a great group of people. We have a weekly team meeting, and even though we're all virtual, working remotely, it's just as if we're in the office, right? So I just love that we have a constant communication throughout the day. And just everyone is really genuine, and we're all here for the same goal of helping agents, but also we're passionate about seeing the success of accelerated automation. And I think that's what really, sets even, sets a company apart regardless, right? Is when your staff members really believe in your mission, your objective, your strategy of your company.
Yeah. We definitely get along. We're a little quirky, we're a little crazy, but we
Yes,
definitely get
yes,
along beautifully. It's wonderful.
yes,
Well, what an
yes.
incredible conversation. Huge thanks to Tiffany for sharing not just her expertise, but her personal journey from agency owner to key leader here at Accelerated Automation. If you're listening and you are thinking, I need this level of clarity and support in my business, then now is the time to take action. Whether you're ready to streamline your agency with automation or you're looking to have a strategic partnership through our Fractional COO program, we're here to help. Ultimately, that's what we're about. So go to our website and book a free growth strategy call to uncover where automation can save you time, boost revenue, and empower your team. Or if you're ready for a high level operational leadership without hiring full time, let's talk. Go ahead and schedule that discovery call to learn how our Fractional COO program is helping agencies scale with systems and support that truly
Yeah.
move that needle. You're going to find the links in the show notes, or you can just head over to acceleratedautomation.net to take the next step. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And remember, you weren't meant to build this business alone. Let's grow smarter, not harder.